The first production of the Canadian oil sands began in the year 1967. A private investment of $250,000 came from an organization that has now evolved into Suncor Energy. This gamble on the Athabascan deposit was the largest single private investment ever seen in Canada to that date, and the investment commenced a starting production rate of 30,000 barrels of oil per day. The oil sands are made of a naturally occurring mixture of sand, water, clay, and bitumen. Bitumen is oil that will not flow under natural conditions. The oil produced from the tar sands is a heavily demanded commodity. Thousands of products consumed worldwide require the production of oil, and the global demand is forecasted to increase 40% by 2030. Fuel and heating occupy the largest portion of the oil market. There are two methods used to extract the bitumen from the oil sands. The first is surface mining, the second is in situ steam-assisted gravity drainage. For surface mining, the soil and rock overlying the oil deposit is stripped away, effectively exposing the shallow pockets of valuable bitumen that lies beneath. The other method, steam-assisted gravity drainage, is an advanced form of steam stimulation in which a pair of parallel wells is drilled down deep beneath the surface. These wells then turn horizontal, one a few meters above the other. High-pressure steam is continuously injected in the upper wellbore to heat the oil and reduce its viscosity. This allows the heated oil to drain into the lower wellbore, where it is then pumped back to the surface. At this day and age, the most common method of oil transportation out of northern Alberta is by pipeline. The pipeline transportation is complemented by a lesser volume of rail transportation. The current Energy East pipeline spans from Alberta to Quebec. Some parties have plans to expand this pipeline to St. John, New Brunswick. However, the expansion faces overwhelming opposition. The existing pipeline was built in 1970 and it was initially intended to transport gas. Converting an existing gas pipeline into an oil pipeline may mean less effort needs to be put into construction and materials, but it also enhances the risk of an oil spill. This would be catastrophic to any rivers, lakes, and residential areas along its route. Previous pipeline failures have already claimed the lives of numerous Canadian species. However, supporters argue that the new construction would be a job creator. Even though a majority of these jobs would be temporary, the State Department's environmental review estimated that it would create about 35 permanent new jobs. The pipeline expansion is also supported by the fact that 95% of Canada's 3.8 million barrel per day production comes from Western Canada, and Ontario and Quebec alone account for more than half of Canada's total energy requirements. Furthermore, the pipeline expansion to Irving Oil's refinery in St. John would prevent them from importing Saudi Arabian oil where production is regulated by less reliable jurisdictions.
Oil sands. They are so rich and so expansive that Canadians predict they could provide for all of the nation's energy needs for the next 400 years. The oil sands are the world's third largest proven source of oil, and the world is invested in bringing this oil to market.
Canada is the world's third largest producer of oil after Saudi Arabia and Venezuela. The oil sand industry is heavily regulated and all land disturbances must be reclaimed. Currently, about 602 square kilometers are affected by oil sands production, and 67 square kilometers are actively under reclamation. In addition, air quality in the oil sands region consistently has better ratings than major Canadian cities. The largest issues the Canadian oil sands face are its negative environmental impacts and its disturbance of the land that thousands of people once called home. The tar sands are responsible for the second fastest rate of deforestation in the world, following only the Amazon rainforest basin. Additionally, the production and upgrading required to produce synthetic crude oil from the oil sands results in the emission of dangerous greenhouse gases. Roughly 62 to 164 kilograms of carbon dioxide are emitted per barrel produced. Public health data taken from communities surrounding the oil sands shows extremely high rates of rare and deadly cancers.
Water has already become a scarce resource. We think of it as being infinite, but of the world's total water supply, only half of 1% is accessible fresh water. The oil sands mining operations use up to 4 barrels of fresh water to produce 1 barrel of oil.
Going to give the support necessary to Alberta, and Alberta's government is going to get the kind of support for its programs, for healthcare, for the things that are needed to keep supporting Albertans. The other thing that we need to look at now is how we're actually going to get our resources to market.
That's right.
One of the basic jobs of the Canadian Prime Minister has always been, you can go back to fish and fur and grain on the railroads, has been to get our resources to market. And the way that has to get done in the 21st century is people want to know that it's being done responsibly and properly and sustainably.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, the past government tried to get these done without listening to people, without looking into environmental oversight, and had a really tough time getting those pipelines built. Didn't get any pipelines to Tidewater. We just put forward a process that hopefully is going to gain the public trust, create partnership with Indigenous peoples, and reassure the science and environmental community that we are being sustainable as a way through.